Welcome back to Newsnight. And back to our top story on Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom's reaction to President Muhammadu Buhari's order to review 368 grazing sites across 25 states in the country. The governor says it is clear that the president is planning to plunge the country into crisis. He also accuses the present administration of placing priority on the welfare of cattle over that of the people he says voted for the president. He believes the president is turning Nigeria into what he describes as a cow republic. The governor is accusing the president of turning a blind eye to the unimaginable levels of encroachment on lands belonging to Nigerians. However, the president pointed out that the review is to determine the levels of encroachment.
All right, for a close look, like we told you in the course of the bulletin, we are now joined by senior advocate EBUN ADEGBORUWA from our Lagos studios to speak on this development. Ebu, glad to have you join us on Newsnight.
Good evening.
Nigeria has 415 grazing reserves in 21 states, just 2 in the south, Oyo and Ogun, and about 140 grazing routes with 138 in the north. Now, the president approved a review of 368 grazing sites across 25 states. What do you make of all this?
I believe that Nigeria is a country governed by laws, and since we elected to practice democracy, rule of law, and due process, we have compartments and statutory responsibilities that the Constitution has assigned to the various levels of governance. We run a federation, which includes the federal government, the state government, and the local government. In our law, the administration of land is exclusive to the states. And I believe that in our development as a nation, as of 2021, the idea of grazing routes in any part of this country is totally outdated, illegal, and cannot be supported by any law in any manner whatsoever. Now, I believe that in the period when we were under colonial rule or in the time past, actually it may have been fashionable to have some designated land or routes as grazing for cattle. But in 1978, Nigeria adopted a new system of land administration by enacting what we call the Land Use Act. That Land Use Act in Section 1 has given the administration and control of land to the people of Nigeria in the various states. So by law, land is vested in the governor of the states on behalf of the people of Nigeria. So to that extent, the president has no statutory role to play in the administration of land. He cannot give any directive. He cannot set up any committee. He cannot, by law, do any action that would seem to interfere with the powers of the governors in the states, in the urban areas, and then the local government in the local areas. And now the Land Use Act is part of the Constitution since 1999. So if you want to amend the Land Use Act, you have to first also remove it from the Constitution to be able to amend it. So I think there is no need for this controversy.
Okay. So effectively, Mr. EBUN ADEGBORUWA, are you saying that the president is inventing an unnecessary conflict with the state government, who are the owners of the land and territories? And does this come to you as a surprise, considering that the president is presumed to be relying on the counsel of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, who is a senior lawyer, a very senior lawyer?
I don't think it's to say, we don't know, I cannot speculate on the basis for which the president has made the declaration or upon which he is acting. And so, but whosoever is responsible for offering such opinion, it will be good for such person to consult the Land Use Act, Section 1, which grants law to the people, Section 34, which even says that without even applying for certificate of occupancy, you are presumed to have a statutory right of occupancy over land constituted in you. So to that extent, I believe that what is to be done is what the president did in July this very year, when he approved 6.5 billion naira for the establishment of cattle ranch in Katsina State, and immediately released 5 billion naira to the governor for that purpose. Now, cattle ranching and grazing is a private business, and I do not think that it's proper for government to be involved in the sponsoring of private businesses. But I agree that it's important to agree on a formula in ending the clashes between the ranchers and also the farmers. But this should best be done by asking those who are interested in grazing to approach the owners of the land to make necessary negotiations and agree on the modalities for which such exercise could be done. Now recall that in the southern part of Nigeria, all the governors met and made a proclamation that they had banned open grazing. And some states like Ondo, Ekiti, Rivers, Delta, and some other states have since promulgated laws prohibiting open grazing. And so it's within the powers of the governors of the state to direct affairs for which the Constitution has allowed them. You also recall that in places in the north, there is prohibition of matters like alcohol. For instance, businessmen are not permitted to sell or trade in alcohol in some parts of the north. And so the president cannot force such a governor, for instance, to allow the sale of alcohol if it's inconsistent with the custom or faith of those people. So if other parts of the country...
Let me come in there. Could you talk to us about the Grazing Reserve Law of 1965, applicable as it were, only in the states within the north, and then this bill on grazing reserves establishment 2016? Can you talk to us about that?
What I can tell you clearly is that in law, once there is a conflict between legislations, it is presumed that the later in time will prevail. Now, if there is grazing route established in 1965 by any gazette or by any law, and the Land Use Act was subsequently promulgated by the National Assembly and is now incorporated into the Constitution, whatever conflict exists between grazing routes, which is just about what cattle would, the route through which cattle will pass, and then ownership of land, which includes the route, development, farming, and all other things. Such law of 1965 is automatically incorporated into the later legislation, which is the Land Use Act of 1978. So to that extent, I believe anybody affected by any designation of any grazing route should go to court and challenge the power of the president.
Anybody affected. Thank you so much, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, ADEGBORUWA, for being on Newsnight.